Hey guys, Hamo back again. Welcome to my 1 week review of the Galaxy A54. So just to start off, the price is $450. I actually got mine for $400 off Amazon. So right off the bat, you can easily find discount there depending on what website you buy it from. Android phone in general tend to go on sales pretty often, so just be on the lookout for that. And in terms of this phone being half the price of the Galaxy S23, I honestly really do think that you do get half the features. Well, not exactly half, but with the A54, you are getting 6 gigs of RAM versus the 8 on the Galaxy S23. You actually do get a larger display, a 6.4-inch display compared to the 6.1, but the 6.1 on the S23 is much brighter. The Galaxy S23 goes up to 1750 nits peak brightness compared to the 1000 nits on the A54. The A54 surprisingly still have a micro SD card, which is nice to see. I really do miss that, especially from the Galaxy S20. I do like the lime green color though, but you can only get it off Amazon if you are in the US. In the mobile carriers, I think they only carry the basic black color and another one. And in general, when I was using this phone, I think I had PTSD from last year with the A53. That was super laggy, and even doing little things like pulling down the notification shade or even just switching between apps. It was so hard to use with the A54, I absolutely hated it. This time around, it is significantly better. It is nowhere as fast as the Galaxy S23, maybe half as fast or 75% as fast. But in general, it is pretty good, but you can tell that Samsung does sacrifice a lot just to hit this mid-range price. Since it is a larger display, you do get a large battery, 5000 milliamp. The Galaxy A54 actually does have 25 watt fast charging, and since it does have a bigger battery, it still takes like an hour and 40 minutes to charge. Unlike the Galaxy S23 Ultra, where it comes with a 45 watt fast charging, you can charge it close to an hour. So that little buffer does make a big difference. It is nowhere close to OnePlus or any of those other Chinese brands that offer 80 to 150 watt fast charging. So you do have to spend some time to wait for it to charge from 0 to 100%. Design wise, it looks pretty much identical to the Galaxy S23 series. If you're just laying them side by side and you do not hold it in your hand, can't really tell the difference, but once you pick it up, you can tell the difference in build quality. It is much lighter despite being a larger phone. In the back, it has the matted plastic frame design. Although it looks and feel pretty nice, like almost identical to the Galaxy S23. The glass is a little reflective. I don't really mind that. And for a $450 phone, in terms of display, you are getting a 1080p resolution and also 120 Hz refresh rate. So in general, a pretty good display for the price. It has all the Samsung One UI features for you fanboys out there. And it is also missing Samsung DeX. So like I pointed out before, with the A54, you are paying half the price, so you are missing half the features. I never really use Samsung DeX anyways, so there's something to keep in mind. And even using the camera features in general, I noticed that when I was on vacation in Hawaii, I'm missing half of the camera functions. There's like no video portrait mode and maybe a few other settings. I just felt like I had more options on the Galaxy S23, so I defaulted to using that camera the most of the time. It was just faster to launch, much more reliable, and many more features. So even though I had both phones with me, I always found myself to be reaching for the Galaxy S23. And fun fact, the Galaxy Z Flip 4 does not have Samsung DeX either. So even though that phone list price is $1,000, you're still not getting all the flagship features. The Flip and the Folds are a little bit more experimental. The S series is where you're gonna get most of Samsung's features. The A series is where you will get most of the S series features, but at a fraction of the price with some sacrifices. But in terms of coming from the A53 to the A54, it is a significant improvement. Just in terms of everyday usage, everything does run a little bit smoother. I remember when I was using the Galaxy A53 last year, I would need to wait at least 1 to 2 seconds just doing little everyday thing, launching a camera, taking a picture, switching between apps. It was so bad that I had to take out the SIM card and put in my Galaxy S20 in about a week later. And my Galaxy S20 is a 3-year-old phone. So I would rather get that than the A53 any days. But it looked like the A54 is much improved, but it does still leave a lot to be desired. Especially if you are used to other flagship phones in the past. If you're coming from the S series to the A series, you will notice a big difference there in terms of just raw processing power, switching between apps. I would not recommend that. But if you are on a tight budget and you're coming from maybe $100 Walmart phone, this will be a pretty good upgrade just in terms of all the features that you can get for the money, and you don't want to spend $800 for a flagship phone, I can potentially see this as a pretty decent phone. But at the same time, it's not as fast as it could be. Even launching Pokemon Go with certain games, it just takes a second or two longer just to boot up. And once you get up and running, you can play it okay. But you can tell that the raw processing power is not quite up there. Battery life is pretty solid. Depending on how much you play on your phone, you spend a lot of time on your phone, you can get 6 or 6.5 hours of screen on time. But if you just use it normally, you will have a longer battery life and less screen on time. Because if you're just working all day, you wouldn't be on your screen for 6 hours. So on a normal day, I get anywhere from 13 to 14 hours of battery life on average, which is pretty solid by today's standards. Camera is pretty decent for taking photos, but I noticed video-wise it is not as good. Currently recording this video on the A54, just using the basic camera. And when I go back and watch this video compared to the video shot on the S23, S23 just looks much better. It is more crisp and clear. So at the $450 price range, it is competing with the Google Pixel 6a. I actually would prefer the 6a over this phone despite it having all the Samsung features, unless you are a hardcore Samsung fan and are set on One UI and all the features that Samsung has to offer. The Google Pixel 6a is just a much better performing phone all around. You get a fast phone, a fast camera, launching between apps, everything is just smoother on the Pixel 6a. And if you can wait a little bit longer, the 7a is around the corner, so I would wait that out so you wouldn't get a 1-year-old phone. You're going to get an extra year of software support if you just stick around for the 7a. Likely with the Pixel 7a and 6a, the screen size is going to be similar to the S23, so you're not going to get as big of a phone. But you don't mind having a smaller form factor for better performance, I would go with that. But if you want a larger screen and you're willing to sacrifice some performance, just have a bright display, a big phone, then the A54 will be a solid choice. But overall, I think it is a pretty decent phone if you are on a budget. But if you can afford the S series, then I would get the S series. Just because you're getting a lot more. At the end of the day, you're pretty much getting what you paid for. With half the price, you're getting half the features, half the performances. So just be aware of that. But if you find that you don't need a lot of the things that the S series have to offer, and you're willing to deal with a slower phone to get the discount, then that's fine as well. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Please check out my daily series on the S23 if you haven't already. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys in the next video.